Hello there everybody, it is me XFreezerBunny and welcome back to another Sims 4 speed building video. Okay, so today we are speed building another house that I built specifically for my vampires let's play, and this house is gonna be called the Carlisle Manor, and I'm gonna be talking about why it's called that in a little bit. So the Carlisle Manor is a 5-bedroom, 5-bathroom mansion. In addition, there is a basement that has 3 vampire tombs in it. So it's really interesting. And basically the architecture of this house is kind of inspired by the idea of a Gothic Victorian manor combined with kind of like an Eastern European German romanticism castle type of thing. So it's very it's very castle-like in appearance, but it also has a lot of Victorian aspects to it. So I'm going to be talking about that a little bit later on. But first off, let me just do a little bit of housekeeping. So in this video, of course, I'm mostly going to be talking about this build, but I'm also going to be revealing some things about my LP, like some story elements that are relevant to this build. And also I'm going to be talking about some things that I'm going through personally. So anyway, so first things first, a couple of days ago, I went to see a specialist to have my vocal cords checked because in case you guys haven't been following my channel for the past couple of months, you would know that I recently have experienced some voice problems. So the good news is, thankfully, I don't have like any really bad terminal illness or whatever. Thankfully, it's a really minor kind of situation, and I'm currently in the process of treating it. You know, I have medication for it right now. Basically, there is a lump in my throat that is caused by many different things. You know, my diet is one, my sleeping habits, and of course, I have a tendency to sometimes overly use my voice, and all of that kind of resulted in me having a lump in my throat. So yeah, last week I went to the doctor and she basically told me to just do this and do that. And the good news is I am allowed to record videos. I'm allowed to have just normal conversations. I'm just not allowed to like scream or be overly excited or whatever. So, and I'm also not allowed to eat some things. So yeah. Because last month was a particularly exciting month for me because, the Christmas, the holiday season was filled with parties and events and things. And there were definitely days where I kind of screamed a lot. When I had my reunions with my classmates from high school, there were a lot of screaming involved. So I'm pretty sure that you guys can kind of tell that my voice is getting back to normal, So, and also I kind of have a tendency to be overly excited in my videos, where I kind of like have a little bit of a louder voice, a little bit more of an excitable voice, but I'm gonna try to avoid that. No matter how excited I get, I'm gonna try my best to regulate my voice. So it might sound really boring, but I kind of have to do it, or the lump in my throat is probably gonna get worse. So anyway, I'm coming back to the doctor in a month to see how it's going. So hopefully it goes really well. And I just want to take a second to thank everybody who really gave me everybody who really gave me support and everybody who really expressed their concern. So rest assured, it's nothing serious. It's a really minor situation. So you guys can relax. Okay. So anyway, like I said, I really wanted to have kind of like a castle theme for this build. It's also a little bit inspired by the house that used to be built here, the Stroud Mansion. However, there are some differences. Like this one is definitely a lot bigger, and I don't mean to sound a little bit mean or critical, but there's a lot of things about the Stroud Manor that I personally didn't like. I didn't necessarily like how two-dimensional it felt like, because the Stroud Manor, it looked really good from the front, but from the back, like it felt very three-dimensional. There were no windows in the back. It felt like just a dollhouse to me. And that might not be a bad thing, but for me, it just really felt two-dimensional. So this is kind of like an enhanced version of the Stroud Manor. And yeah, the tower of this is definitely inspired by the Stroud Manor. And if you guys don't have vampires, you guys are probably going to have a lot of difficult time understanding what I'm talking about, but yeah, whatever. So anyway, you guys will see me incorporate a little bit later on some wooden elements from the Sims 4 Get Together, like all the wooden stucco things that came with Windenburg. I will put those in because at some point I kind of realized that the outside had too much masonry and stonework going on, so I will try to balance it out a little bit and add some other accents. So anyway, let me just tell you guys a little bit of a story of this manor and how it kind of fits in to my Let's Play. So oh my gosh, I don't know how to say it, but basically this is the Stroud Manor in my LP, okay? The Stroud Manor does not exist. Oh my gosh, let me just rephrase that. Oh, okay, so basically the Stroud Manor, how it came with like midnight crap, I cannot talk. I don't know what to say. Oh my gosh, I'm like falling apart. It's been a while since I recorded anything, so let me just take a second to compose myself. Whew. Anyway, so what am I trying to say again? Oh my gosh. Okay, so basically, the Stroud Manor that came with Forgotten Hollow does not exist because this is the Stroud Manor, if that makes any sense. Because in my LP, the characters that are actually in my LP for vampires are actually kind of Vladislaus Strauss's extended family, if that makes any sense. So basically they're the Strouds, and this is the house that they live in, okay? That's basically the point of it. However, the reason why it's called the Carlisle Manor is because at some point the Strouds had a lot of difficulty maintaining this, and financially, of course. So one of the Stroud brothers married a wealthy lady who just happened to be called Carlisle. And she was able to not just bring life back into this house, she also made it possible for the Strouds to live here as their ancestral house. So because of that, the Strouds renamed this house as Carlisle Manor. Okay, so from Stroud Manor, it is now called the Carlisle Manor. Hopefully, I'm able to be clear on that. Please tell me you understand. So anyway, the room that we're working on now, it's kind of like the main great room / living room. So you guys are probably going to hate me for this, but the furniture layout for this one is very symmetrical, especially the choice of the choice of sofas and love seats and chairs, they mirror each other exactly. However, the idea for this room is actually supposed to be a ballroom. You guys can see that the flooring for this enormous room is wooden, which is, of course, the flooring that you should have for every ballroom. So basically, the idea for this is that during the heyday of the Stroud Manor, this used to be the ballroom. However, when the manor fell into disrepair, and of course they fell into financial difficulty, there were no more balls. So they just converted it into a living room and they threw in some random furniture and stuff. So it's basically just like a really, really large reception / drawing room. And I know that the furniture layout is so symmetrical, but I will throw in some things off camera to kind of break the symmetry. Like on one side, there is a gramophone. And on the other side, there's like some candelabras and things. It's gonna be pretty. There's gonna be some elements to it that do break the symmetry. So, the room that we're working on right now is the library. So this is like a really, really formal room. Basically, if the master of the house has business with his tenants or his, other businesses, this is where he would receive those people. So it looks really formal. It looks really dignified. And that is kind of the idea that I went with. Of course, there's a couple of bookshelves over there that have a nice emotional aura, and I will also throw in some clutter items over there off camera because that's something that I tend to do quite often, and I'm probably going to be starting to do that a lot more often, throwing clutter items off camera just to save time, because I am trying to be more time efficient with my videos. So back then, I used to be very self-conscious about the length of my videos, and I know that a lot of people don't really care about the length of the video, but right now I'm really trying to improve my content, and I know for a fact that it's easier for more people to watch a shorter video. So that's kind of what I'm trying to achieve right now. I'm trying to have more bang for your buck, if that makes any sense. I'm trying to make the videos more substantial without making it less longer or draggy, if that makes any sense. So there are some rooms that I did furnish off camera, such as like some bathrooms, because I've just felt like that got a little bit repetitive. So yeah, it's weird though, because even though I did ration out like the rooms that I built. I chose wisely which ones I wanted to show or not. But it's weird because the video still turned out like 40 minutes long. So it's pretty interesting. Also, I sound like freaking terrible. Not my voice, but the commentary is like all over the place. So I apologize to you guys. I'm still trying to adjust to this whole situation. So hopefully you guys will understand. This commentary is falling apart. Oh no. But anyway, the dining room, we literally just sped through this. My idea for the dining room is, you guys know the cliche dining room where it's like every nobleman has like just 2 chairs on either side of a really, really long table, and it's kind of hilarious. So that's kind of what I was going for. There are, however, some backup chairs in case you would need to have more seating on the table. And to be fair, since vampires live in this house, there's really no need for a dining room. So yeah. I mean, yeah, they could just drink out of people and stuff like that. I also incorporated like a bay window in the dining room itself because I wanted to fit in a bar somewhere. I really like using the bar that came with vampires. It just looks really nice, and it looks very church-like for some strange reason. It looks like a choir loft, and I like using it. And I know that I'm probably going to regret not putting it, because if I throw a party or something, my Sims are definitely going to need it. And also, there is this interesting little room over here that is kind of like the music room, but it only has a piano in it. But the idea for the music room is that, since it's built right next to the ballroom, during balls or during occasions like those, there would be like music or like an orchestra that plays inside the music room, and you can kind of hear it from the ballroom, so that makes any sense. So yeah, right now we are making the kitchen as well as kind of like the hallway that leads to the basement. So very much like the dining room, the kitchens don't really have that much importance for vampires. But let me just tell you guys that in my LP, there are going to be humans in it. It's a good mix of vampires and humans. So the kitchen is going to be somewhat useful. And also, let me just tell you guys that my LP is going to take place mostly in the other house that I built. Like the start of the LP is going to be in the other house that I built. It's going to be on the Victorian dollhouse. I uploaded it like about a week ago, so if you guys haven't seen it yet, I just want to let you guys know that that is where most of the beginning of my LP is going to take place. And towards the end of this LP, we're probably going to be taking over this mansion, if that makes any sense. So there's a lot of story involved about that. So yeah, like I said, I'm not going to be talking about that too much because I don't want to spoil anything. I'm really excited to start recording the LP though. I literally spent weeks preparing everything, making sure everybody has the right relationships, making sure everybody has the right jobs. And of course, probably the longest thing that took me was making sure that everybody had a house to live in. So I almost actually went with the original Strauss mansion, but I just didn't like it. So I decided to build my own version of it and also kind of improve it as well because, like I said earlier in the video, this mansion has 5 bedrooms, and I believe that the Strauss mansion, the way it came with vampires, I think it only came with maybe three bedrooms or something like that. So anyway, the kitchen, it's mostly white and black, and I love that black and yellow and gold tile on the floor. It is so beautiful. Just to add a little bit of class, I threw in a nice little chandelier over there. And once again, off camera, I filled all of the counter space with a lot of clutter items. And of course, since this is the present day, there is a microwave and there is a tea maker and there's also a coffee maker as well. This kind of little triangular, I don't know, this weirdly shaped room over here behind the stairs is actually a half bathroom for the guests. If there's like parties and stuff, the guests would need to, have access to a toilet. So that's basically it. Very straightforward. I really appreciate though all the toilets, all the plumbing stuff that came with the vampires. It's pretty awesome. So yeah, I really love those 3 tile doors that came with vampires, and I especially love how they also came with matching archways, because vampires actually came with a lot of really, really good content. So if you guys are interested, I highly recommend you guys get it, especially if you love Victorian themed things. Vampires really gives you a lot of good items. So anyway, I'm really, really happy actually with this game pack. And I definitely agree with a lot of people when they say that Vampires is one of the better game packs that we're getting, but anyway, so right now we are working on kind of like the catacombs, I like to think. So before vampires lived in this Carlisle Manor, these areas used to be cellars, where they would keep their foods and their wines and things. However, of course, since the vampires took over, they've turned it into kind of like vampiric accommodations, if that makes any sense. So there is one grand vampire bedroom or sleeping area or tomb. I'm going to call them tomb. And yeah, there's one grand vampire tomb, and then there's two kind of like lesser, cheaper ones, if that makes any sense. And also, this area right here has no ceiling lights. It only has torches and candles and things, and it's a little bit dark at night, but I felt like it looked really creepy. So yeah. So yeah, it's pretty dark and it's pretty gloomy, but yeah, the other two vampire tombs have a cheaper coffin, and then this really grand one has, of course, a more expensive coffin, and it also has like some really interesting things that I think make the room look a little bit creepier. Like it has like some torches, it has like some weird like emblems and like scrolls and things. It's pretty creepy. Like, it's like a very ceremonial thing where you might actually revive like the dead or something. Like, I wanted it to feel like a tomb, so I feel like it actually turned out really well. And also, I didn't try to overly decorate this area. I don't know why, but I kind of just got really bored really quickly, so I just placed in some random like altar tables over there and some flowers and also some picture frames and stuff, just random stuff, because you really don't need a lot in a tomb. If you guys move in your vampires here, you might actually want to put in some more personal things that have a connection to that vampire's personality. I also threw in those picture frames actually, which I really like the effect of, because it kind of gives you the idea of who might be living in those coffins. But yeah, that is pretty much it for the basement catacombs. And now we are starting work on the second floor. By the way, there's a total of 4 levels. I mean, there's 5 levels. I'm not sure. There's probably 5 levels to this. We have the basement, we have the ground floor, second floor, the third floor, which is just one room, and it's kind of like the workshop. And then we have kind of the tower area where you can have a beautiful view of like Forgotten Hollow and things like that. And I also forgot to incorporate like a staircase early on in the build, so this one kind of felt a little bit like an afterthought. But yeah, it turned out really okay in the end. And right now we are just pretty much incorporating some staircases that lead up to the topmost level of this tower here. So in my previous build, I talked about the vampires that we're going to be playing as, and for pretty much the very beginning of this Let's Play, there's only going to be one vampire who lives here, and that kind of grand tomb in the basement is kind of designed for him. And then the other vampires that I'm going to be playing as also used to live here. However, they don't anymore, and that's kind of like a mystery that I'm going to leave until the Let's Play for you guys to find out. So I'm gonna keep you guys in suspense just for a little bit. So anyway, in my previous build for the Vampire Dollhouse, I talked about 2 siblings that have recently been turned into vampires. We have a girl and we have a boy sibling, and the girl and the boy, they both used to live here, and then something happened to them that kind of drove them away from this house. And in the process, they also became vampires. So this is not one of their bedrooms. This is the guest room. It's pretty basic. It's pretty normal. Lots of neutral colors. There are, in fact, 2 guest bedrooms here, and there is a enormous master bedroom, and of course, the 2 bedrooms for the children, which technically aren't even children because they're kind of like young adults by the time the LP starts. But yeah, really, really nice bedroom. Nothing too crazy, and yeah, it's pretty basic. It's pretty standard. It's just what you would expect to have in a guest bedroom. I do love that rug though. It's so beautiful. The rug that came with vampires. It's just so beautiful. So yeah, right now we are working on one of the kids' bedrooms. Once again, they're not kids. They are young adults by the time the LP starts, but I'm just going to refer to them as the kids. So this is our boys' bedroom, and I mentioned in my other speed builds that the boy, he kind of is a little bit of a geek, or he's a little bit of a nerd. He likes science. He likes collecting things. He's kind of like a pack rat, So you guys won't see me incorporated in this build, but there is going to be a lot of like clutter items that speak about his personality. There's going to be like a bonefish right there. There's going to be like a lot of really cool stuff that really showcase his personality and who he is. And there's also like an office space as well, because he is supposed to be the heir to this whole estate. However, due to some situations, he stopped being the heir, and that's a very story specific reason, but there is an office area because he does have like a lot of responsibility to him as well. So there's definitely going to be a lot of paperwork. There's definitely going to be a lot of work for him because, being the only son of this household, he has to really step up and be responsible. So, there's a bookshelf, there's like some office areas and all that stuff. And like I said, you guys won't see me incorporated off camera, but there are some other things in this bedroom that really speak about his personality as well. So right now we are kind of working on the daughter's bedroom. Now, unlike our son, she is pretty spoiled, if that makes any sense. She is used to getting what she wants, being the only daughter of this household and having almost no responsibility. She tends to be very reckless, and she is very strong-minded, and like I said, she really gets what she wants all the time. And this is kind of like her princess bedroom, if that makes any sense. She's also very vain. She likes to wear makeup. She likes to, get what she wants, and she wants it right now, and nobody's gonna stop her from getting what she wants. Having said that though, she is actually very family oriented. She likes to look out for her brother because he has a tendency to be kind of a goofball, kind of like, he has a tendency to get himself into some bad situations, and she, being the more upfront and strong-willed sibling out of the two, she has a tendency to really look out for her brother, and she is a good person. She has a good heart. I always refer to her in my other build as like a sexual predator because she likes boys, and if she wants a boy, she will do everything she can to get what she wants, like I said. So that's kind of her personality. And once again, I wasn't able to show it in this video, but there is going to be like a vanity table there that has like, a lot of stuff in it. So yeah, it says a lot about her personality. Anyway, so right now we're working on the only room in the entire house that has a TV. So I did place it specifically right next to the kids' bedroom because, they are the only ones who are going to find this useful for sure. But yeah, they basically have this room. And then, they can watch TV, they can play video games, because I did throw in a video game console over there. And of course, they have the best of the best. They have the best console, they have the best TV. They are a pretty spoiled bunch. But, I keep referring to them as spoiled, but they're not terrible people. They are good people. Their parents taught them good values. So even though they come from very prestigious backgrounds and very privileged families, they don't feel entitled. They both work for something that they want. Our son works really hard to pursue his hobby, and our daughter, she works really hard to protect her family, if that makes any sense. So yeah, anyway, this is the master bedroom, and it is undoubtedly the largest in the entire house. There's also 3 rooms that make up this master suite. And we have the master bathroom, we have a dressing room, and we also have kind of like this sleeping area, which is enormous. I really tried to go for something that's very ostentatious with this one. I wanted to go for something that was very almost over the top. I wanted something to reflect the family's prestige. I wanted something to look the part of being the sleeping area of a very powerful and influential family. I did tone things down a little bit because I felt like, as much as I love the red and gold combination of that rug, of that carpet, I felt like it got a little bit overwhelming. So I will exchange that into a red and gold combination to match the furniture that we have in this room. So it does get a little bit more subtle as we go. And also, I just want to say a special mention to those palm trees. They are a lifesaver, because in a house that is as enormous as this one, those palm trees really fill up the space really, really well. And they look really good. And they are also all the rage during the Victorian period. I see a lot of pictures of Buckingham Palace having like a lot of palm trees inside of them. So that's kind of the inspiration for this one. One thing that I'm not really crazy in love with are the the wallpapers, because they're just a little bit too shiny for me. They're shiny, but they don't really have that kind of texture. And I really wish that they had that texture. Because the way they shine looks very metallic. So I wish that, I don't know, just, it's weird. And also, I wish that carpet that we have right now, I wish it was a wallpaper as well, because that would have been amazing, right? So anyway, here I am trying to make things a little bit more subtle, and I ended up deciding on that black and red combination. It looked really good. It looked like very expensive embroidery. So yeah, it's really good. So yeah. And also this dressing room right here, it's pretty boring. I felt like you needed to have a dressing room, but I really didn't put a lot of effort into decorating it. Just put the things that were necessary for it to be an actual dressing room. So yeah. So for the master bathroom, it's a little bit different, because unlike all the all the other 3 full bathrooms in this house, the master bathroom actually has a different bathtub. All the other full bathrooms have a combination shower and bathtub. However, the master bathroom only has a bathtub, but they do have the most expensive, like a more expensive bathtub. So yeah, it's like a win-win situation. Now, this is an interesting room right here. The next bedroom that we're going to be furnishing is kind of supposed to be like a guest bedroom in a way, but not really, because in my mind, it's kind of like the alternative master bedroom, you know? Like, you guys see in many period dramas, like, many of the couples sleep separately. You know, in Downton Abbey, for example, Cora and Robert sleep in separate bedrooms, and then they sleep together. Oh my gosh, if that makes any sense. Like, ceremonially, like, they each sleep together separately, but they kind of sneak into, like, Robert sneaks into Cora's bedroom every night, if that makes any sense. I feel like it would have been more socially acceptable for couples to sleep separately. But if they really love each other, then they would probably sleep together, if that makes any sense. So this is supposed to be that other bedroom for the spouse to sleep in as an alternative to the master bedroom. And as you guys can see, it is separated only by a really, really small hallway, so they can basically easily sneak into each other's bedroom if they wanted it to. So that's that. And this is the only other bathroom that we're gonna furnish. I'm not gonna show the other 2 bathrooms that we're gonna furnish because, you know, they're pretty straightforward anyway. Nothing too crazy, just the bare necessities of the bathrooms and stuff. So yeah. And right now we are working on a really high up room. This is a room on the 3rd level, and this is kind of like our son's workshop / den / office area or whatever. This is kind of like his personal office space and private escape, you know, like I mentioned before, our son, he's a little bit of an introvert, you know, he's a little bit antisocial. So this is a place where he's very comfortable with, away from everyone else. So, you know, there is a workbench, there is an office table, and there is also like a bookshelf. He has basically everything he needs to have a good time and make his wood crafty stuff. I also try to put in an easel as well. I'm not really sure if I keep the easel. I feel like I do. I feel like I do keep the easel. Cause in my previous video, one of you guys actually suggested that our son could not only be a carpenter, he can also be a painter. So I did put an easel right there, just to, you know, just to have more interesting things to do. And yeah, it's pretty cool. You know, he could be both a painter and a wood carpenter, if that makes any sense. So yeah, anyway, this is his private space. I really like it. I really like how it's on the 3rd level. And also, interesting note, the flooring is carpet, so not necessarily the ideal flooring you would want, you know, on like a carpentry workshop, but you know, it's all good. And then right here, I just put in a sundial in the tower itself because I felt like that was a really beautiful item that I never really get to use a lot of. The sundial, I believe, came with get-togethers. So yeah. Anyway, we are approaching the end of this build, and pretty much the last couple of things that we're going to be doing is the quote-unquote landscaping, and there is not that much landscaping into this house other than some dead trees and some grass. So some landscaping I didn't show it anymore because I didn't feel like it was necessary. I did show my placement and choice of trees though. It's basically just the same exact tree and stuff. I also tried to put in some plants over here, but they just did not work. So I just stuck with some wheelbarrows instead and just called it a day. So for the landscaping, it's definitely more of like a choice of terrain paints, that complement the surrounding area. Cause I feel like, like the surrounding for this particular lot is already like really well integrated. So I didn't feel like it was that necessary to, put a lot of complex landscaping because it's like dead stuff. So yeah, pretty straightforward and stuff. Nothing too crazy. And then pretty much I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna just choose the lot traits for this house. So this is a registered vampire lair. It's cursed and it's also a vampire nexus. No, it's registered vampire lair. It is haunted and it's cursed, I think. I'm not sure. So anyway, let's go ahead and cut into the screenshots of the floor plan so you guys can see how this lot works. But anyway, it looks like that is going to be it for another speed build from me. Once again, I just want to thank you all for the love and support that I've been getting this past couple of weeks. It hasn't exactly been easy for me, but you guys helped me get through it with all the love that you give me. So thank you so much for that. And yeah, it looks like that is going to be it for the speed build. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up my commentary right here. Once again, please don't forget to hit that like video. Blah. I forgot my outro. Has it been that long since I last did an outro? Anyway, once again, please don't forget to hit that like, favorite, and subscribe button if you guys had fun watching the video because it really does help out the channel a lot, okay? You all have an awesome day. Thank you guys so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of the video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.